How's it going, gamers? Sid Akers back again with some more gaming news. Today we're taking a look at what is arguably the biggest story in gaming at the moment, and no, I'm not talking about Total War Pharaoh being garbage. We'll get to that eventually. In a massive win for Microsoft and Microsoft fanboys everywhere, Microsoft has completed its $69 billion takeover of Activision-Blizzard. The deal was finally made possible when UK regulators from the Competition and Markets Authority gave the deal the go-ahead after their concerns related to the takeover had been addressed by Microsoft. Microsoft's Phil Spencer had the following comments for gamers. Whether you play on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC or mobile, you are welcome here, and will remain welcome even if Xbox isn't where you play your favourite franchise, hoping to limit concerns relating to games from Activision-Blizzard becoming Xbox and Microsoft exclusives. Following the announcement of the takeover deal, Activision's CEO Bobby Kotick confirmed in a letter to staff at Activision-Blizzard that he would step down at the end of the year. His employees and gamers everywhere have been seen partying in the streets over such joyous news. The Greed Goblin's finally leaving. What a time to be alive. Sony has not yet made a statement on the merger, however their last comments from earlier in the year claimed the decision would be potentially harmful to consumers, indicating that popular Activision titles such as Call of Duty could be intentionally sabotaged for Sony consoles under the new deal. However, Microsoft was naturally quick to dismiss these claims. Under the new deal, Microsoft would hand rights to distribute Activision's console games to Ubisoft. But despite this concession, Microsoft will now control franchises such as Call of Duty, Diablo and Warcraft, which will generate them huge amounts of revenue for the company. But now that the deal's closed, Microsoft will be paying cash for Activision at a premium rate of $95 per share, which means everybody's favourite demon, Bobby Kotick, will be seeing a nice $400 million payday before he leaves at the end of the year. It's probably still not going to help him find a date though. Microsoft is hopeful that the takeover will boost demand for its Xbox console and enable the tech firm to add more titles to its Game Pass service. On this front, Activision said on Twitter, "It's awesome to see anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. As we continue to work towards regulatory approval for the Microsoft deal, we've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have any plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 onto Game Pass this year, once the deal closes we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world. And we anticipate that we would begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of the next year. So don't go expecting Modern Warfare 3 to drop on Game Pass this year, but by the sound of it, it could be very likely that the Call of Duty that launches in 2024 might be on Game Pass at launch. It'd also be very interesting to see if World of Warcraft goes free to play on Game Pass, and what I mean by that is they'd give you the game and the expansion packs for free, but then they'd maybe make you pay another monthly sub to play, and I think that'd be still making them the most money. If they haven't already thought of that, I'm sorry for giving them ideas. Nikki Stewart, a consultant and former commercial director at Cloud Services for UK Cloud, said that the decision was great news for gamers. It'll lead to more choice, more innovation, better market value and improved gaming experiences. If things work out how Microsoft has said they will. Then yeah, things will be a lot better for gamers, but that's only if we're looking at this in a vacuum when nothing else happens. And I think that's important to remember. Now, admittedly, Microsoft did say that they weren't planning on making any of their new acquisitions exclusives immediately or in the short term, but I think Call of Duty becoming an Xbox or PC exclusive in the future could be a real possibility. Now, naturally, as World of Warcraft is a PC game, it's already a PC exclusive, and Diablo is pretty much the same despite the availability of it on a console. I don't think I've ever run into anybody that's actually played it on a console. So I'd say that Call of Duty is probably the most important and impactful to the rest of the gaming community. As Microsoft and Sony both continue their trek along the path of acquiring every game developer that makes AAA games, they're eventually going to get to a point where they can't play nice anymore, and one of them's going to need to make a push for complete dominance. And as Call of Duty is one of the most popular franchises on the planet, I definitely think that Microsoft's setting themselves up to try to make a move somewhere down the line. And if we see them making moves towards Take-Two to try and counter the groundwork that Sony's already laid there, then the battle between the two giants might happen sooner than we'd like it to. That's the reason for the title of the video, because yeah, on the one hand, the possibility of a whole bunch of games that people like being available for less than $120 on launch day is great. I'd even go as far as to say that Call of Duty being on Game Pass might actually make it good value for money, because then when you play it for a couple of months and uninstall it, you're not getting completely ripped off. But if Sony had any actual intent in securing Take-Two and they said they'd make a move if Microsoft bought Activision, this could create a terrible position for gamers instead of a good one. Now, I've been a Sony enjoyer since the PS4. Quick Crusader history lesson: when I was a kid, I played Nintendo stuff up until the GameCube, then I got a Wii and didn't like it, I got a 360 and started playing that, got big into Call of Duty, Then I had a PS4 for the Sony exclusives, an Xbox for the Microsoft exclusives, and a Wii U because I hate myself. One thing I've noticed since then is that Sony doesn't really care about their user base. You got Game Pass out here with incredibly good value for money, a big library of old games and a constant stream of new releases launching on Game Pass. And then there's PS Plus, where you get a couple of shovelware games a month and you might get a good game once every couple of months if you're lucky. Now, admittedly, their catalogue of games has massively improved since the PS4 days, but the majority of stuff that you can get on PS Plus is last-gen stuff you've probably already played or aren't interested in. And as sad as it is, Sony doesn't even try to give you good value for money. The best thing they had on offer last time I turned my PS5 on was a bunch of old PS4 games that I already owned turned into PS5 enhanced editions that just seemed to be identical to the PS4 versions. I'm not saying that Microsoft's any better, I just think that it's a bit hypocritical for Sony to be acting like they're some paragon of consumer justice when they're just as bad, if not worse than Microsoft. Does anybody else remember $599 US? They've been what I'd call anti-consumer for at least a decade. Rapidly approaching 2 decades if you want to be really cynical about it. So what does that mean then? Am I some sort of giga Microsoft fanboy? Or do I hate Sony? No to both. I just think that they're both mega corporations and they're both fighting for leverage of a massive market. I think they're going to play up how virtuous and nice they are while they want something from us, and then as soon as they get it, the mask will come off and they'll be back to their old tricks of trying to generate as much revenue as possible with as little effort as possible. You know, Business 101? They'll come out in statements and they'll try and sell this as a net positive for gamers, and in some aspects I can definitely see where they're coming from, and even agree with them. Microsoft having a couple more games that they can launch for free on Game Pass will be good for Xbox enjoyers. If Sony buys Take-Two and they can work out a deal so that you get a free Rockstar game every 4 years when they launch, that'd be pretty cool too. But not for everyone. They're just going to use these things, like free Call of Duty or free Diablo or free Grand Theft Auto, to convince you to get their console. And if we end up getting the bad ending in a couple of years, if you don't have a PS6, you won't be able to play Grand Theft Auto 7. And if you don't have a new Xbox, you won't be playing Call of Duty. And nobody will be really surprised. And honestly, I think this is the catalyst that's going to cause the video game crash. As these two giants continue to wrangle all the third-party developers and turn them into de facto first-party developers that won't release stuff on competing consoles, consumers will be faced with a choice. Get an Xbox for X, Y, and Z, or get a PlayStation for A, B, and C. I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to avoid, at least at the moment, but because of the nature of corporate greed, I think this outcome's inevitable. Without getting too much into the economics behind it, as money gets tighter and consumers are faced with a choice, they might be inclined to just not spend money, or save up for a PC, because as Sony drip feeds exclusives onto Steam, at least you can almost enjoy everything with a PC. Until you can do that on a console, buying a console would be a losing decision in a modern world where nearly everything's an exclusive and multi-platforms are a thing of the past. If that would happen, the focus will shift from consoles to PC, which Microsoft will win by default because of Windows. But aren't we forgetting someone? A smart person had looked to history and who survived and brought us back from the first video game crash. And I think that Nintendo might end up winning the big corporate gamer monopoly in the end, just by simply not really playing now. And if you're someone like me that was a Nintendo fan that kind of scratches their head now and asks, well, what are these guys actually doing? It almost makes sense for them to have made it seem like they were throwing for the last couple of decades, while Sony and Microsoft take each other out. Because even while they've been throwing, they've still been making money and cultivating a dedicated base of fans that love what they're putting out, even if it's on an underpowered console. Because with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and other games like that, they've at least shown they can still make awesome games despite the console they're on. Definitely some food for thought. I can also see this going really badly if the battle between Sony and Microsoft continues, but hopefully they're smart enough to see what they'll end up doing and what Microsoft have said they're trying to avoid doing when fighting to take control of Activision-Blizzard. I mean, only time can tell, but I hope I'm really wrong about where this might end up heading if they play their cards wrong. If you've managed to make it this far and you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and a comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. If you didn't enjoy it, throw a comment down below and let me know why, because your feedback from you guys is super important for improving my videos and bringing you the best possible content that you want to see. Thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next video.